Hispanic Contractors of Colorado. Welcome to our general membership meeting for the month of June. Denver International Airport Gate Expansion Projects. We thank all of our folks for joining us today. Appreciate your time. I know you're busy and could be doing other things. We are in for a good treat today, but before I'll go over a few housekeeping items. We will be recording today's webinar, and then we will post it later on our website, so you'll have access to that. If you have questions on today's presentation, during the presentation, you can utilize the chat room. We will be collecting them and making sure we go over all the questions before we sign off today. Also, for best view of the presenters, if you go to your top right-hand corner and choose speaker view, the top right-hand corner of your screen, it'll give you the best view so you can see the screen as well as the speakers going on today. We're going to start today's meeting with information on the U.S. Census and followed by an update on Denver International Airport's $1.5 million gate expansion projects. And then we'll close with an overview of the 2020 Colorado Legislature that just ended its 2020 session on Monday. We'd like to thank our Platinum members. These are the folks who are the highest level membership with HCC, and we certainly appreciate their membership. The list in front of you is our Board of Directors. Board of Directors are volunteers who help set the course for Hispanic Contractors of Colorado, so we certainly thank them. And if you run into them, please thank them for their time they provide to HCC as well. Our mission, as you know, we're still continue to maintain. We want to be strong, maintain our membership's knowledge, as well as connections and voice within the Colorado construction industry. This is our agenda for today. We're going to do a 2020 census. We'll have Stuart Williams from the airport expansion, DEN, Maxine Pryor from the Holder FCI team, legislative update, and a wrap up on HCC business. We also had originally scheduled Reggie Gamlin from the Turner Flatiron. Reggie is ill, has not been able to join us today. It is not COVID related, but we certainly do give well wishes to Reggie. HCC is proud to present today's webinar. We're going to start with the census, give you a little bit of information here, as we all hopefully know how important it is to make sure we participate in the census. It supports our small businesses in many ways, as particularly within healthcare and providing information for our folks' health benefits. So we want to make sure that folks are aware of the different types of benefits that come from them. The census is mandated by the Constitution, but more importantly, the federal government uses the census for distribution of more than $675 billion in federal funds, infrastructure projects that come to our local market. So it's important to make sure we have all of our folks counted in order to take advantage of these particular funds. It is confidential. We'd like for you that are owners of your companies to remind your employees to take the census as well, and to remind them it's confidential. It's not only important for them to do the census, but their family members as well. Important dates to remember here. We are in the May 13th to the July 2020 census. Folks will start visiting and contacting individuals who have not completed their census yet. So if you've not completed yours, you will be contacted. Best way to avoid that is to get your census done and get it contacted. We would appreciate that. Then we'll go into December, delivers the report, and redistricting will start in 2021. There are 4 ways to respond. You could do the phone, internet, and there's several languages you can use. The paper mailer, which is in English and in Spanish, and then also in-person interview. So we're asking folks they can do those self-report through July 24th, 2020. That's an important date. It's important for you to share this information as well with your employees and coworkers. Here's some helpful resources. As I said, we will send this to you guys, the slide deck to you afterwards. And we will also send this out, have this posted on our website. But here are some important links for the census for you to get to. Also, I wanted to let you know for those employers online, the census folks have flyers available that you can attach to your employees' paychecks, or you also can get posters if you would like to post at your place of employment. If you like any of those materials, you can let me know, or you also can let Christine Alonso know. Christine's information is here. Christine is our contact for the census, has been giving us information that we've been posting it on our website. We've also posted in all of our newsletters and done some social media posts with this. So we're just trying to help get the word out to make sure folks are prepared and are doing the census, and making sure that we have that information out there. We need everyone counted. It is vitally important to get everyone counted. As I said earlier, the federal government uses the census count in order to determine how to distribute funds to the various states. And we certainly want our fair share of infrastructure projects going forward, which will help the construction industry as a whole. So we need everyone counted. Again, I'll remind you, please make sure your employees are aware of taking the census. In addition to that, let's make sure that their families are also aware of doing the census. With that, I am going to go into Denver International Airport. We have a treat with us today. We have a Senior Vice President from Denver International Airport, Stuart Williams. I worked with Stuart when I was at the airport, a great gentleman. He is leading the airport's gate expansion and improvement program, which will revitalize and expand on 3 existing concourses at DEN. Stu served as the overall program manager of the Hotel and Transit Center program, the airport's $554 million initiative to build a hotel and transit center that includes a 519-room Westin Hotel and Conference Center, an RTD commuter rail station, and an open-air plaza connecting the new development to the existing Jepson terminal. In addition, Stu and his team facilitate the development of additional commuter rail station infrastructure for transit-oriented development located partially on the airport property. Stu has more than 38 years experience in design and project management and has worked on behalf of the City and County of Denver on a number of high-profile projects, including the Denver Bond Program, Denver Justice Center, Denver Neighborhood Bond Program, and the original design of the construction of Denver International Airport. We're dating ourselves there, Stu. As a former director of engineer for City and County of Denver, Stu holds a BS degree in civil engineering from the Colorado State University. Welcome, Stu. And do we have you? I don't think we have you on your digit. Let me find it. Stu, you don't need Stu. Stu, do we have
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Didn't know which word you had signed in at, so we apologize for that delay.
Oh, no problem. And Chris, you're right. We're seriously dating ourselves. When you say 38 years of experience, that makes me feel really old right now. Thank you all for inviting me here today. Talk about our, really exciting programs that we have going on at the airport. Just from a course of how we'll do this, I assume if I say advance, you guys can pop a new slide in for me.
That's correct.
Great. Technology is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Why don't you click to the next slide, please? Great. Let's talk about the expansion program as it was initially envisioned. Back in 2017, Council approved at $1.5 billion for gate expansion. We needed the gates. We needed the capacity because the airport was growing at a significant clip at the time. At the time, it was estimated that we would complete the new gates in 2022. The scope was basically 439 new gates. At the time we started the gate program, nobody had signed up for those gates. Okay, we just knew that, you know, it was sort of, if you build them, they will come. And so at that time, we didn't anticipate or know which airlines would be using those gates or how they would, what space, additional space they would need, nor if we would have to move airlines. Really good thing happened very early this year in January and February, prior to the COVID crisis. Both United and Southwest signed use and lease agreements to take all of those gates. So basically, Southwest was going to go from 24 gates to a total of 40 gates. United was going to go from 64 to 90 gates. So anyway, that was a huge, that was great for the airport, great for the airlines. As we sit here today in June, we are still on time. In fact, I'll go over a quick schedule here in a second, and we're holding good to our budget. That time frame is basically we will deliver, start delivering gates the end of this year with B West, and then at the end of next year we'll be delivering gates on C East and A West, and then there'll be some phasing into 2022 because of retrofitting gates in the spider gates. And the good news is, working with all of our partners, we're tracking to meet the MWB goals of the program. We'll talk a little bit more about those in the next few slides. Next slide, please. What we decided to do, so the way the work was originally split up was basically they do an East and a West team. The East side is Holder FCI joint venture from a construction manager at risk. Turner Flatiron is on the West side. The design teams were equally split. We have Jacobs on the East and HNTB on the West. And our overall program management team is staffed mostly by WSP. Next slide. Well, because of a number of things, because of COVID, because of the way the teams were working together, it was envisioned that we should expand the scope of the expansion program. And what we're calling it is renewal. And renewal would mean going in and accelerating work that would have happened on the existing concourses over the next 5 to 7 years. And we'll talk about that scope a little bit later. But because of COVID and because air traffic decreased dramatically, and the fact that the teams were working very well together, and frankly, we knew that the industry was going to be needing additional work quickly, we went to City Council to amend the existing contracts we have to allow us to do this renewal work. So City Council, back about 3-4 weeks ago now, approved our amendments. Turner Flatiron's contract was raised from $700 million to $940 million. Holder FCI from $655 to $920. Both the design contracts from $65 to $85 million, and our program manager WSP from $45 to $60 million. The idea was these are contract capacity is what was approved. Budget is a more complex subject to talk about. The budget for these projects were basically included over the next 5 or 7 years. However, because other things changed, we were able to pull some of that money into the next 2 or 3 years to be able to fund these contracts. All these contracts are going to be task order based. These amendments are task order based. And that gives us the flexibility to give particular tasks to either Turner or Holder. And it's really by the opportunity that those companies would have to get the work done more quickly. It should be understood that the goal is not competing between the two teams. It's really to take advantage of their capacities. And we fully envision both of these contracts will be, if everything goes as planned, maxed out. Next slide, please. So there was a lot of questions as we went through City Council about these amendments and would the new ordinance apply to them. The new ordinance does not apply to these contracts because the original contracts were pre the new ordinance. So they are under the previous ordinance, as well as their commitment to goals are from the original contract. And just to refresh everyone, Turner Flatiron has 24%, Holder FCI has 24% goals. And as I mentioned earlier, they are on track to meet those goals. And we will continue to push to see if they can exceed those. Design contracts were at 17% for both Jacobs and HNTB. And again, they will meet or exceed those goals on the original program, and then as we move into the renewal program. WSP had 10% goals for program management services there, and they are exceeding those goals. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the scope of the renewal. We did develop the scope with airline input. We need to make sure that everything we needed to do for the new gates is included, as well as the renewal of existing facilities, which is the existing concourses in this case. We wanted the flexibility of these contracts to take advantage of the fact that air traffic is low because of the COVID situation. And if we'd done this a traditional way, if you will, it's like this is a great idea here in May of 2020, at the time we were doing this. It would take us basically a year to a year and a half to get this work to market, which would put us towards the end of, middle to end of 2021. And, again, as Chris said earlier, I've been doing this a very long time. And unfortunately, I've lived through too many recessions. And, my experience, as well as others, will tell us that the real hit to the design and construction community isn't right now because projects are finishing up, but there's going to be a lag period. And my, experience would tell us that that lag is going to start hitting, latter part of this year and definitely next year, because a lot of projects just aren't going to be in the pipeline because of funding issues. By doing these amendments, we can get work to the trades and to the market. We really hope to begin in September and October of this year from a construction point of view, and design is actually starting now. So, we could get the work done quicker, get the work out to the market quicker, or we would have been having this conversation 18 months from now. We do also leverage the fact that we have deployment of contractors on site. They know what it takes to work at the airport. Again, we can keep jobs and we can create new jobs because it's almost another $500 million worth of work. We believe that the MWB participation can be increased. This is sort of the good news, bad news. The bad news is likely firms may not have as much work as they did as we were going through the last couple of years. So that's bad news. The good news is now we can maybe utilize that capacity and give folks work. We definitely are going to accelerate the delivery of all of this work. As I said earlier, in the capital plan, this work was spread over 5 to 7 years. Assuming things go the way we see, we can get this renewal work done by the end of 2023, if not a little sooner. From a city perspective and an airport perspective, we believe this is going to reduce our overall costs. We will get more bang for our buck. Again, as several of us went through the recession of 2008, and we were doing Better Denver bond program, we were able to get a lot more scope done. which is great for our citizens, and in our case, our partners at the airport. By putting all of this under the expansion program, these smaller, whether we're doing restrooms or hold rooms or conveyances, it can be delivered programmatically and not as a lot of one-offs, which is a more efficient way of delivering the work and minimizing disruption. Because even though traffic is low at the airport, we still have passengers and we still have our airline partners to work up with. We want to be as efficient and minimize their disruption as much as possible. Next slide, please. So what is the exact scope of what we're talking about? We will be moving airlines around because of United and Southwest signing up for gates. Because of that, airline support space is going to have to be constructed or moved, and we have to deal with that work. And then kind of the bigger thing, and probably the most interesting, especially for our passengers, is the whole idea of renewing the contracts, or renewing the concourses, excuse me. And we'll get into the exact scope of that in the next slide. Next slide, please. So in the actual renewal scope, the idea is to take all the lessons we learned from expansion and the design intent of expansion and move it into the existing concourses. We will not be able to replicate the new expansion work fully, of course, but we believe we can make it look so that it doesn't feel like you're going from one airport to another or an old airport to a brand new airport. We believe that enough can be done to make passengers feel like they're in the same airport. And as well as the fact that a lot of things are at the end of their useful life. When we presented this to City Council, and I didn't want to throw these pictures in because you guys know it too. I mean, we have pictures of broken, lots of conveyances, broken chairs, broken benches. Things are wearing out. Our airport's 25 years old. It's time to get this work done. So the scope will be likely where there's carpet in the main passenger circulation areas. That'll be terrazzo. All the carpet that's in the hold rooms themselves will be new carpet. We'll be either refinishing the walls or putting new products in, again, to both clean things up and make it match the expansion areas. The ceiling tiles, especially in the main corridor, are way past their useful life. They need to be replaced. Probably the most exciting thing is the wayfinding for expansion is super spectacular and much more intuitive. If nothing else, this program will let us have this cohesive wayfinding experience throughout the concourses. And it's a significant part of the work. And almost anybody that's been out at the airport know that our restrooms really need to be redone. So that's huge. And then last but not least is conveyances. The renewal program will take on moving walkways and escalators that are in the concourses and subcores. We're not doing the escalators from the train platform up to center core, but most of the other escalators in the subcores will be replaced. Next. Just a little bit about COVID-19 and something that I'm really proud of with the teams that we have working. Today we have roughly 1,100 folks out there working, and we've been able to maintain the workforce through the COVID situation. We really did not lose schedule during the COVID crisis and continuing. But the reason we've been able to do that is both Turner and Holder and their teams, as well as our design teams, have really done a great job. Office staff is working remotely. They've staggered work times for crews so that there aren't as many people at the COC. A huge one is busing capacity. They've increased the number of buses so that a bus is only half to a third full, again, to promote social distancing. Face coverings and all that work has been done for the employees. Everybody gets a daily temperature check as they enter the site. Cleaning has been stepped up significantly. They're following all the CDC state and local guidelines. And at times, because we have a lot of folks out there working, it's the biggest construction site in an area, at least in the Front Range. We've had a couple issues where folks have gotten sick, and the contractors have closed those areas, cleaned the areas, and when the workers came back, they were kind of re-educated on the procedures they needed to do to stay healthy. So we are very comfortable not knowing exactly when this COVID situation is going to end, that moving forward with additional work can be done safely. And again, I do credit, all the workers out there, because yeah, we've had a few folks get sick, but given the amount of folks that we have out there, we're very fortunate, I believe, but it's fortunate because of a lot of diligent work and planning. Next slide, please.
That's your last slide, Stu.
Oh, that's it.
Yes.
And I know you guys, and I don't know how you want to do questions, Chris.
I got one in the chat room already for you. So let me give you the question.
And before you do that, Chris,
go ahead.
The one slide everybody's saying, Stu, what's the schedule? And it's a great question. As you can imagine, the phasing of this work is very intricate. So we're looking, because it involves working with our airline partners, our internal teams. So we're working on different phasing options. And so I don't have the full program scheduled by any stretch. The goal is to begin work, at least on the first renewal projects, in the next 2 or 3 months, September, October. Probably by the end of July, we'll have the full schedule worked out. And if you folks would like, I could come back in like August and we can talk about the full schedule. Okay, Chris, sorry.
That's all right then. We will definitely have you back for give us the update in August. If you get anything, if you want to send to us, we'll be happy to send that out as well. The question is, are the amendments to this contract the reason the A&E on-call contracts were not awarded and canceled?
No, the totally different circumstances. A lot of contracts were postponed because of the uncertainty of what was going to go on and the scopes of that work. This is not replacing that work, and that work, for the most part, on other types of projects will come back. But it was 2 different situations entirely. For instance, like the Pena project was postponed, trying to sort out the implications both from funding and need. Those contracts will start to come back over time, but definitely not a replacement of those contracts. This would be in addition to.
Still on the schedule that you talk about to be in August, will there have any idea what the schedule will be like when some of these other contracts will come back?
Maybe by then we could, we'll get somebody from AIM to join us as well. And they should have a lot more information on those contracts by then.
Anybody else have any other questions? There's not any in the chat room. Someone wants to put one out there that we could give to Stu. I know Stu has a drop time at 3:45. He has another appointment to get to. So this is your opportunity to ask Stu any questions.
And if folks think about this, my contact information is was in the presentation, my email. Drop me an email, I'll do my best to answer. I think also utilizing the resources that we have. Maxine's going to present on behalf of Holder FCI. Unfortunately, Reggie couldn't be here on the Turner side, but we have a very robust, and Maxine can maybe talk about this, we have a very robust committee and meeting structure with everyone monthly to talk about getting work out to the trades, to our subcontractors, outreach, MWB, follow-up, and those folks are a great resource for anybody if there's questions. But never hesitate to send me an email, and I'll do my best to get back to you.
Stu, there's another question here. It's not directly related to you. However, it is probably FCI Holder, Turner, Flatiron, but I'm going to read it to you, see if Dan has an opinion on it. the FCI holder and Turner Flatiron teams, but is there an intent to bring new MWBEs that are not already working on concourse expansion work? There's a concern in the MWBE community that there will be few opportunities for new firms.
And I can definitely answer that. Maxine can expand on it as well when she talks. But the goal here is not, Turner Flatiron and Holder FCI will continue to be the conduits for this work. That being said, they have requirements where they will be putting work out to the trades similar to the way they did with the expansion program. There are going to be times, just to be honest, where especially in the early phases, it may be conducive to use some of the work that they have or the firms that they have working there. But the overall goal is to give everyone kind of a fresh start and the opportunity to participate in this work.
Another question is, for the scopes of work presented, there weren't any mention of COVID-related design programming changes for the hold rooms. Is that in the works?
Well, that's a great question. So, everybody's really trying to get their arms around what is a good hold room or area, knowing the COVID situation. So obviously the expansion design of the hold rooms was pre-COVID. Both our design teams are locked in nationally and internationally on best practices. So we're getting information about that and we'll adapt as it's likely. There isn't a consensus on what makes a great hold room or not yet, but we're trying to future-proof when possible, but it's definitely being considered, and it was an excellent question.
They're coming in now. You spoke to wayfinding, cleaning, and walls, etc. Do the POC or do we as support folks try to go directly to GCs?
I think, let me see if I interpret that question correctly. The work, for firms, they should be marketing, for lack of a better word, Turner Flatiron, Holder FCI, Jacobs, and HNTB. I'm always there for questions, but for specific items as far as marketing or opportunities, I would definitely suggest that folks work with the folks that'll be actually contracting the work.
Right. And we will continue. As you have information, we could always put that in our newsletter that goes out weekly to our membership as well. Next question. When should we expect ITBs for this new work?
It goes back to our problem of knowing the exact phasing. Later this summer, I would think. Again, it's really hard right now to give a definitive schedule until we know the phasing. And we have different types of projects. We have the hold room renewal, likely restrooms will be separate packages, conveyances will be separate packages, airline space and support facilities will be separate packages. So it'll be, those first packages should start coming out, late this summer, and then it'll ramp up as we move through the fall and into early next year.
And I know that Holder FCI put out there they will be doing some outreach, and I'll let them expand more during their presentation as to what that outreach is going to be coming with the new gate expansion. I'm looking to check one more time to see if there's anything new. Stu, I don't have anything new in the chat room, but we certainly thank you. It was sure good to touch base with you, hear your voice. We thank you so much for taking the time to be a presenter here at the Hispanic Contractors at our general membership meeting today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to come back later in the summer or early next fall.
We will look forward to that. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Everybody be safe.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you.
Our next phase presenter is going to be Maxine Pryor. And Maxine is joined, I believe, also with Brian Nichols, but I have Maxine's bio, so I'm gonna read a little bit about that. Maxine is the founder and president of Max Impact Group, a purpose-driven management consultant firm that specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusive solutions for municipalities and prime contractors on transportation and construction mega projects. Our firm is currently playing a key role at the Denver International Airport concourse expansion and Great Hall projects, which are valued at nearly $3 billion. Maxine has performed a lot behind the scenes work and spent the last few years assisting the city of Denver rewriting both small and minority-owned business construction ordinance and goods and services ordinance, and assisted the Colorado Department of Transportation with their diverse small business engagement initiatives and strategies. As a chief strategist who serves on several boards and advisory committees, Maxine's passion for people, process, and purpose has been instrumental in helping open doors, eliminate barriers, and leveling the playing field for contracting opportunities for small minority women-owned businesses and workforce opportunities for individuals. Maxine is a certified contract compliance administrator through American Contract Compliance Association, National Training Institution, and has received several awards in recent years for her contributions to the economic development of the underserved individuals, businesses, and communities. Welcome, Maxine. I'm sure most folks on here know you already, but it's nice to read about you as well.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. Can't hear your voices saying hello back, so this is a new look and feel for outreach for us all. Really glad all of you can join us today. Kind of feel like Stu said everything I was going to say, so we can go. Just kidding. Got some good things I want to share with you all today based on what our Holder FCI team has been up to over the past year plus, and excited to jump in. So what was the word Stu used? Was it advance?
Yes, that works.
Okay. All right. So we have been up to some things in regards to our current state of MWBE participation. At this point, we have awarded 19 contracts to first tier or tier one MWBE firms, giving them the opportunity to build a direct relationship with our Holder FCI team. And we currently have 50 lower MWBE tiers or MWBEs throughout the tiers. At this point, we also have 41, and out of those rather, 41% of our prime contract, or the contracts that we've awarded directly, have been awarded to MWBEs that are new to DEN. Why is that important? Well, we've been hearing from community for quite some time that that working at the airport is quite an opportunity. They'd love to be able to break in. It seems like a lot of times you see the same subs, same MWBEs being engaged repeatedly, and our team really wanted to ensure that we were opening the doors for new firms, new MWBEs to be able to participate. So of those that we've awarded, 41% are new to DEN. Next, please. Regarding our participation, as Stu mentioned, our goal is 24%, but we had 87 trade packages with an MWBE goal over 30%. As a matter of fact, our highest trade package had a goal of 51%, and we had a number of packages that were in between those numbers. We have been and continue to be and will be on the next round of procurements, as we're here to discuss today, very committed to maximizing MWBE participation. So that being said, right now we're looking at about 57% of the lower tier opportunities having been awarded to date. Tier one MWB engagement, we're looking at 21%. We currently have 8% of opportunity from our current scope that has yet to be awarded, and then 14 that are in negotiation and pending finalization now. Next, please. I think this is a slide everyone is kind of here to know about. As Stu very clearly explained, we're underway right now with the procurement process for gate expansion, as Den has and is finalizing their what the scopes and the schedule and so on will look like. Jacobs and HNTV have already started the design process for renovations of the existing concourse. Once that information has reached, say, a certain percentage of completion, then our team will of course get that information and be able to determine what our outreach efforts will be like at that point. As Stu mentioned, the opportunities for new scopes of work, a lot of the work is going to be existing work with existing contractors, but our team is reviewing very early opportunities for scopes of work that new MWBEs may be able to participate on. And so again, the outreach for those scopes of work will be based on that final decision and our approach. The schedule for future design packages, Stu mentioned anywhere from late summer to early spring. Our scope of work, which falls in the interior renovations for existing public spaces, such as, and that includes work such as the subcore, restrooms, and other miscellaneous work, we're looking at beginning that work in the spring of 2021. In the meantime, we will continue to do as we have been doing, and that is to keep you all apprised of the different outreach events that we will have, as those determinations are made, and as well as any pre-bid meetings that we'll have. If you're not already on our newsletter, please reach out to me. My contact information is on our last slide. Please reach out to me to ensure that you are added to that distribution list, because not only do we provide information about upcoming scopes of work and packages that we're putting out to bid, but we also keep you all abreast of the different trainings that our team offers. It's not a part of our presentation today, but to date we've been able to offer subcontractors that are on our project, as well as the MWBE community at large, free training for first aid and CPR, as well as OSHA 30 classes. We're hoping to resume that, but of course, COVID has impacted so many areas of all of our lives, and that happens to be one of them for us on the project. But we do look forward to finding creative ways and continue with our training and capacity building of MWBEs through this project. Next, please.
Hey, Maxine.
Yes.
Hey, Jonathan Trebo here with Holder FCI as well. Can you go back real quick, Chris? I just wanted to clarify a little bit of that, kind of connect the dots between what Stu said and Maxine did. You know, some of the scopes that may be looking at, might fall within the current extents of the expansion. And so those are the areas that probably make more sense for people that are already involved in those areas. But the things like the renewal scope that's out in the existing space are absolutely the areas we want to get outreach and try and reach as many new contractors as we can to support those scopes. And just the general timing, like Stu mentioned, there's a couple of pieces that will be sooner than later. Those likely will be on the Turner Flatiron side. And it sounds like right now the things that may be outside of our current site extents and part of the renewal scope that would fall under the Holder FCI side would probably be after the first of the year, but we'll probably be in discussions on those following, the August timeframe that Stu mentioned once the overall schedule is put together. So hopefully that kind of connects the dots on some of those. And if anyone has any questions when we get through this, I'd be happy to answer further if needed.
And if anyone is wondering who that mystery voice was, I am very pleased to have my leadership team joining us today. So that was Jonathan Trebo. He is the project director for our Holder FCI team. Also have Melisha Mayer on board, who is an excellent, phenomenal project coordinator. And we've got Brian Nichols, who is our pre-con manager with us today. So again, the information for Brian and myself will be shared later. But Jonathan, if you're wanting to reach him, you can coordinate with either myself or Brian. And if we can't answer your questions, we can certainly get you connected with Jonathan, not a problem. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, I'll take the next slide, please. So one of the many things that we have done on this project is we've done a lot of listening. We've had some focus group listening sessions with a number of different groups, some of which included the NAACP with DISBO and DEN, and hearing back from our MWBE community about the challenges they've encountered while trying to obtain work on the on projects at DEN, and specifically for us, our focus was of course on the concourse expansion project. This information is going to be really great for you all to know, because as we do move forward with procuring new work in the future, we have taken the time to create an onboarding roadmap to assist you with that process. As you can see here, these are actually just the first 2 pages of that roadmap, which also function as a summary. Each one of those circles, numeric circles, color-coded according to the topic, and they are also, they will, if you click on them, it's a interactive document. And so if you click on any of those numbers, it will take you directly to that location where you will find sample forms or blank forms. You will find instructions on how that particular topic is addressed on this project, and resources, places that you can go for questions and assistance. So this has been a very, very resourceful document, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of you and on a different level, and you'll be able to get this and really benefit and kind of build your capacity, but also streamline your onboarding process and have a better experience. Next slide, please. So again, I'm Maxine Pryor, the outreach manager for the Holder FCI JV team on the concourse expansion. Brian Nichols is our pre-con manager, and you heard from Jonathan Trebo, who is the project director. If we can be of assistance to you all, please do not hesitate. And if you've got any questions you'd like to throw out at us, we will take them.
Okay, I do have a question that came over the chat room for you. Thank you so much, Maxine and Jonathan. Based on the information provided, it appears as though there are 19 contracts that are in the first tier MWBEs. With the upcoming renewal space, there is almost $63 million allocated for the MWBE participation, and would hope that more than 19 contractors would be able to participate in the $63 million in future work. Furthermore, those scopes seem completely independent from the existing, I'm sorry, I have to scroll down here, from the existing contract. I guess it was more of a comment than it was a question.
I was just about to address that. Thank you for that feedback. And if you're looking for it, if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation, we'd love to be able to dive in and get your thoughts on the procurement process.
Somebody asked for the URL for the onboarding process.
You can actually, if you'd like to reach out to me at my email address here, we can send that information to you.
Okay, I think Jonathan just sent us his email and is happy to share that. We just shared that with everyone as well.
Wonderful. If you all go to the holder-fci.com website, we've got a number of resources out there, from our outreach calendar with our activities and locations where we will be. If we have any project or team hosted activities, that's listed out there as well. We've got links to the MWBE program with DISBO, whether the training links or certification, how to get certified. And we also have a list of all of our procurements and all the packages that are going out, as well as the senior engineer that is overseeing that particular package. And lastly, the name of the firm that received that award, with a hyperlink so that you can go directly to their website and find out more.
Any other questions folks want to put out in the chat room? While they're waiting, Maxine, Jonathan, and Brian, I certainly, and the rest of your team, certainly appreciate you guys taking the time to be here and present to HCC today on behalf of your new opportunity with the gate expansions. We are very happy, and we'll probably have you back or give more updates as time goes on. I know you guys know that we do our newsletter, and we're always happy to put information out there in our newsletter. So please share with us whatever you can.
Thank you for the invitation, Chris. We certainly enjoy being partners with you all.
Thank you. I am going to give a legislative update. As many of you know, that the Colorado State Legislature began in January 8th and was expected to adjourn May 6th. However, due to COVID-19, their session in mid-March was put on a pause and remained that way till mid-May. It did end this past Monday, June 15th, but it also changed in how they did business. They ended up working on just a few items to balance the budget, and several COVID-19 relief packages that were bills were entered into the legislature. Wanted to pass on that one of the things that HCC did was maintain a strong presence at the Capitol this year. And even when we went to remote access, we still remained very active in participating and providing feedback in several pieces of the legislation that either was passed or was not passed through this legislative session. We're going to put a full report out. It'll come out in our newsletter tomorrow of bills that we were actually involved in, and we'll also be posting it on our website for those who are interested in knowing what those were. However, I do want to highlight a couple of things. There was a School Information Apprenticeship Directory, Senate Bill 20081. HCC supported, and it passed, and it was a very good thing to have for the apprenticeship directory. HCC opposed a couple of bills, Senate Bill 205, sick leave for employees, and House Bill 20-1420, adjust tax expenditures for state education fund. HCC opposed those. Both bills were passed, but they were passed with extensive amendments. And so there were several changes made to those bills from the original way they were introduced, which we believe HCC had a voice in helping making sure that happened. Again, a whole list of bills will be posted out on our website. You can see where HCC's participation was from our legislative committee this past legislative session. They kept them very busy with this short session when they came back late May. And as you know, they just adjourned on Monday. I have some announcements I'd like to also share with you. If you have not already started to follow us on our social media, we please do. We are out on all social media posting things. If you have good news to share as a member, please let us know. We'll be happy to share that information as well. If you're out there, we ask you to please do use our hashtags. They're very important for us to do. And then I forgot to also say, really wanted to apologize again for not having the Turner Flatiron team here. Reggie has gotten ill, and he was unable to. We found out late yesterday afternoon and did not have a replacement for him from that team. We will get that information and bring it to you at a later date so that we can keep you informed on that Turner Flatiron piece as well. We're asking you to please complete our survey. You will receive a copy of this, the link to the survey and a follow-up email from us for your participation today. Please complete the survey. It's through this survey that we get information as to what types of webinars we can continue to provide, what we should be providing at our general membership meetings, what you're interested in and what you want to know. So please do that. Also let us know if we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, what's good, what's bad. We appreciate the honest feedback from everyone. Couple of things coming up in the future. We have a webinar June 24th, Thriving in the New Normal. It's a very cool webinar of what is to expect under the new normal when we're coming, hopefully, somewhat out of COVID-19. On June 30th, we have a TED Talk. The TED Talk is Critical Conversations, which should be a cool one. Again, all this information comes out on our website. It's also in our newsletters, so that you can sign up for any one of these different webinars. We thank you for your participation today. Hopefully you found it informative. We certainly appreciate your support in joining us today. Thank you.